All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you guys all so much for coming in today. And for whatever your reasoning being, whether you want to learn how to navigate your Blackboard a little bit more efficiently, or if you just wanted some ACE credits, that's completely fine too. This is gonna be a really easy very kind of straightforward, more of a live workshop for our Pacer Ready series, because we're just going to be talking about how to navigate Blackboard. The purpose of this is to help students be able to stay organized, being able to track their deadlines, and how to use your feedback effectively, and to confidently and ultimately to be able to confidently navigate Blackboard, right? Because that is going to be your home for information, especially if you are an online student. That is, you need to be able to navigate it in a way where you feel comfortable so that you don't miss anything. So the very first thing whenever you sign into your Blackboard is going to be your home page. This is going to be your epicenter of where you're going to have all of your courses, right? And so on the left-hand side, we have the institution homepage, which is already going to automatically show up. These are a bunch of hyperlinks that'll take you to right to different links on the university's page. Fantastic things to look at. These are things that the university wants you to see when you log into your Blackboard to keep you connected to your institution. And then the next thing right underneath is the activity stream and what it shows. So ultimately, what your activity stream shows is due dates. If you missed any due dates, if you have anything coming up, right? Like, so anything at a glance for all of the courses that you are currently taking is going to be on your activity stream. And when you go down to filter, you can filter based off of assignments and tests, or you can filter based off of grades and feedback. So anything that you've already received feedback on at a glance for all of your courses. Alrighty. And then next, it will be your courses tab. So on your courses tab is going to house every last one of your courses. This is my student account, and I graduated back in 2021, and it still has I think I took 75 classes. Yeah, 77. It has all 77 of the classes that I took back when it was Blackboard original. And so this is fantastic. If you want to keep track of the classes that you're taking, usually the ones that you're currently in, you can go ahead and click a star on any one of those courses, and you will be able to add it at the top of your page. You're basically favoring it, right? Any of your courses, as you can see, I have 77. I can search the course that I want, and I can click my star to get it in my favorites, and that is going to be the first thing that pops up whenever I log into my courses. You can also filter it by the term of your courses. Let's say that you completed if any of you guys have ever taken a class with Corey Feraldi when it comes to not emergent leaders, excuse me, development, your professional development, right? I remember that I would have a resume assignment that I did with him when I was in school. So when I graduated and I kind of, went out into the real world, I was like, well, I want to find the resume that I worked on with him, right? And so I was like, well, let me go back to my classes, because usually those classes stay open unless the instructor kind of closes it. But you can go back and look at your old assignments, re-download what I did was my resume, and make edits for who I am now. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go into one of my courses. This is a sandbox course. And as soon as you log into your course, the very first thing that you see is the announcements. Never, as someone who is the content developer for courses, and I see it on the admin side, I'll give you a secret. Your instructors know when you looked at it, okay? So if you say that, I didn't even know we had an announcement, we can tell when you've opened it. We can tell that you saw it, right? And so because it is the very first thing that you see, whenever your instructor goes in, it's like, oh, well, you haven't opened the course in like a week. And I put the announcements that this was going to change and this was going to change all in the announcements. Depending on the professor, because I don't know how every single instructor does it, everyone has their preferences. Some instructors will send your announcement straight to your email, right? So you can have it where it's both on the announcements as soon as you log into that course, and it's in your email. Sometimes they'll just send it to your email and just keep it in your announcements tab. And then sometimes they won't even send you an email, and they'll just expect for every time, because, you know, if you don't want to bog down anyone's email, right? So they'll put it just here, and they're expecting you as the student to be able to log on and see when things are due. So once you do that, you can actually click on that, and it'll show this is a mock announcement that I just created for this purpose here. But as soon as you open it and you can read it and you close out of it, you are now tracked with, like, okay, this is something that this student had read. You can also locate your announcements on the top tabs here under announcements, and it'll have every last one that was posted, when it was posted, and time stamped. Always look back at your announcements, because the instructors usually want to inform you of something, whether it was a due date change. Maybe they put in the wrong assignment and they're going to give you an extension, or maybe they are going to say class is canceled for the day. You don't want to have to travel all the way back to the institution, all the way to the institution for a class that's already canceled, right? So it's incredibly important to pay attention to your announcements. Alrighty, so I'm going back to the content page of my course, and this is going to house where all of your information is. Instructors put together their information mostly in like a flow of how the course is going to be laid out. Whenever you get your syllabus, usually your syllabus is going to have, whether it is weekly modules, whether it is chunked material, whatever assignment that they have, it's usually going to follow the same flow that they put into their Blackboard. So for this particular example, this course has a start here, so you would want to start there, right? And right here, housed in the start here, is this course's syllabus. All right, so everything has a purpose. However, the instructor wanted to have the flow and the layout of that course. As soon as you click on whatever that assignment or whatever that piece of information is, and you go through it, like, let's say I read the whole syllabus and fantastic, I'm done, and I'm like, okay, well, let me just close out of that. On the left-hand side of that, you can just go ahead and mark it as complete if it doesn't automatically do so. Like, so for this one, you would probably have to open it, download it onto your computer to be like, okay, I'm marking it as I've done that. But another place, in case it doesn't do that, is you just simply click on the left-hand side. That will allow for you to keep track as the student of what you have completed. And you don't want to rely heavily on things being automatically done for you. When you know that you've completed something, say you submitted an assignment early, go ahead and click that you've completed that. Check that off of your to-do. On the right-hand side of your course is going to have information. So it's going to have information about who your instructor is. You can find their email address here when you click on that, right? And then you also have like different roster details. Who's all in your course? Obviously, these are different versions of me because I have created a student. I have my student account. I have a preview user account, and then the instructor account, right? So your course is going to have a lot more, a lot different people, but you are able to view that membership information. You are able to get an additional idea of who your classmates are. If you have a question and you're like, I just don't know anyone in my class, I don't have anyone's phone number, going here, you can get their email address from here, right? And that way you can communicate that way, but you can also communicate with them via Messenger in here as well. Alrighty. So each one of these modules could house folders, documents, links, It can house quizzes, exams. I'm sure y'all have seen it because y'all have we are in the second part of the spring semester, if I'm not mistaken. So you've taken a few exams, especially I don't know what year everyone is, but every folder or a link all matters, and the instructors have to put those in themselves, right? Like, so anytime they put this information and they house it in these modules, they want you to open them. They want you to see it. So for instance, for this instructor, for the first week, the only thing that they have due or for you to do is the readings. And so as you're going through, like, oh, okay, well, let me open up this reading first. Let me go see what I need, read, take notes. And then as you're going, I'm like, okay, well, I've completed that one. And it keeps a tracking of how many things you've completed. So that's another reason why you want to make sure that you're keeping track of this yourself as well. And don't just rely on it automatically marking off for you, because when you leave out of here, and let's say you start a new day, you have to go to work, you have to go to class, and then you come back, your progress is going to be saved. I can't tell you how many times, like, it seems like, oh, well, I read the article twice because I forgot that I read it the first time. You know what I mean? So this is a live tracking of how you can show your progress in the course. All right. Under every assessment or quiz, even if it doesn't have a due date, it will show no due date. But everything you need to know about that assignment is usually seen immediately, right? Like, so I have when this assignment for the discussion post is due, and what time it's due. And it also gives you the time zone as well. Because everybody, especially whenever you're taking an online course, that does not mean that you are here at the institution, right? Like, it does not mean that you are going to be in the same time zone as everyone else. So you have to focus and make sure that your time zone is correct in your system on your computer, because the due date is going to change based off of your time zone. So it's going to stay within the range of when things are due, but your date and time might be a little bit different than someone else if they're in a different time zone, but it's all going to be talking and communicating together on an appropriate timeline, right? Like, so you just want to make sure you pay attention to stuff like that. When you click on the assignment on the right-hand side, again, it has the due date. It has what is required. If you submit one post or reply, you can do like 2 replies. There's where you can only see the submission after a posting. Those are all set up by your instructor. So make sure you pay attention to that right-hand side of the details and information. As you're going down, you will see other people who have applied, other people who also participated, and if they had any replies. You can also see if your instructor replied, right? Like, so these are all things that are important for you to kind of just pay attention to as you're going through your course. And for this one, I already graded myself, and I gave like a 95 out of 100. So once you get your grade, it will show up there as well. Let's see. That is for discussions. If you were to have an assignment, it could potentially look a little bit differently. This is an assignment that I just threw together. Depending on how your instructor set up for your assessment, whether they only wanted you to submit once, if they wanted you to have a certain time frame in which you're going to be able to submit, just different things like that. Those are all, again, going to be housed on the right-hand side about the assignment. You can also view the instructions for the assignment by clicking on the brown box, and your assignment instructions pop up. It also gives you a little bit more information on, like, is there a rubric? This assignment does have a rubric. And so when you click on the rubric, it will give you a breakdown of what the instructor is grading for. So, and because it's an electronic rubric, and your instructors will be grading based off of they can add notes along the way to their rubrics. Because they can do that, you will know exactly what your instructor thought about each individual section of your paper or your assignment or things like that. You can tell where it's like, okay, well, I received full credit for my exemplary. I was proficient on this one section. I was developing on this other section, just like different things like that. And the same thing for opportunity cost explanation. This is just what I put together for this one. But this rubric breaks down everything, and it tells you what is the breakdown of the pointage as you're going. So you know what to expect whenever you are getting ready to submit. And then if you've already submitted, I'm going to go ahead and close that out. You can view your submission attempts right here on this link on the right hand side. And you can see what you submitted along with the feedback that the instructor gave as they were going through your paper, and what they used for their grading rubric, right? Like, so if you did absolutely nothing right, they gave a 0, and I was like, okay. But if I actually went through and gave a grade for each section, it would show up right here. Okay. Alrighty. And I don't know if any of you have ever had experience with if you logged into into a class and you tried to click on either the module or the assignment and it says the content is not available. Have any of you experienced that? So what that is a release restriction from your instructor. Each instructor can lay out their classes any way that they choose. For some instructors, they decide to put release conditions that you can only have access to this content, to this assignment, to this quiz from this day to this day, or it opens on this day and it stays open for as long as the course is open, right? If that happens, you need to know what your instructor's expectations are, right? Because if you miss that window and your instructor does not allow makeup exams, that's all in their syllabus, right? They're going to tell you whether or not they're willing to accept late work. If you miss that window, the assignment is not accessible to you after a certain period of time. So you need to be aware of what that looks like and what that means. And I actually think I put one. Ooh. Okay. I thought I put it on here. For some reason, it's not showing up. But I had created an assignment so that it could be the release conditions where it would not open up until after this presentation. I'm not entirely sure where it is now, but that's all right. I think it's just having its own little thing going on right now. But yeah, so just pay attention to whenever that content does open up. It will still show up on your calendar as being, because it's going to have a due date of when it's due. But just know and communicate with your professor like, hey, it said that the due date is tonight and I still don't have access to this content. Alrighty. Then your next important tool is going to be your calendar, right? So for your calendar, it's going to show all of your due dates. It's going to have things that you need to pay attention to. I always recommend printing off your calendar at the start of the semester because all of your information for all of your classes are usually housed in the same calendar. I would encourage you to make sure to take notes. Use that as your tracker of if you're on track with making sure your assignments are due, that you did your discussion, that you did your initial post, things like that. Those things are all incredibly important. The due dates will always automatically show, and it always shows your upcoming assignments. But it is incredibly important to make sure you're checking things regularly because a due dates could change. Say an instructor wants to give you more time, or if they're like, oh, like I actually messed up, this is actually due tomorrow instead of in 2 weeks. You know, so just stay on track with that and make sure you're paying attention to those deadlines. Alrighty. When it comes to having assignments and submitting your assignments, whenever you are opening up your assignments, make sure that you're reading everything in its entirety, like I showed you for the instructions. But also too, one of the things that a couple faculty members have told me is that they're like, well, they said that they submitted it, but they didn't get, they don't see it in the system, right? And what would end up happening is, the student would put it in the portal, so I can show you. They would upload a document. I'll just pull a random document from here. Of course, it doesn't want to let me do it now. Alrighty, it's not letting me do it. I saved it on here earlier, but what they would end up doing is they would not actually submit their assignment. What they would do is they'll just kind of click it in there and then they'll exit out, but you have to submit it and receive a submission ticket. And it will say at the bottom that you successfully submitted. Do you want to download this content? And you would also receive an email that the assignment was successfully submitted. The student was not able to provide a submission email. They were not able to even say that they have a screenshot or a download of their submission ticket. So the instructor was like, you didn't submit it. So I can only see what on my end, what you did. I can see that you were in there. I can see that you did something, but I can't see a submission. So just remember to always click submit, and then there's no harm in just saving your submissions or saving those emails until after the due date. That way you have proof to your instructor that you actually submitted something, right? Alrighty. So the next thing we're going to talk about is discussion tab. This is where, again, there are going to be a couple different places where you have those assignments. You have them in the calendar, you have them on your content homepage, but then you also have, for just your discussions, you have them all housed here, right? So whatever discussion you're working on, you can click it and it'll just take you to the submission. So especially when it comes to assignments like discussion posts, there really isn't an excuse as to how you didn't know that you had an assignment due for a discussion post, because they're always going to be right at the top. And if you have one that you haven't completed, it will have however many you haven't actually submitted yet. So just be mindful of whenever you're going through your discussion post that you're answering in its entirety, that you're submitting, and that you are paying attention to those deadlines. Next, we're going to do the grade book. The grade book is, oh wow, I'm failing. But the grade book is where all of your assignments that you will have for the course are all going to be housed, regardless if it's open or not, right? It's going to show you whether or not your grade was posted. It's going to show whether you actually opened it or not, right? So you want to make sure, how you see that, I have an open status. Your instructor would also be able to see that. They're going to be able to tell whether or not you actually interacted with those modules, with those quizzes, with those assignments. They will know that, right? So it's important to make sure that you're paying attention to these things. And as you can see at the bottom, it has when I submitted, that it was graded, or even if it's not graded, that it was sent. And you can view your submissions whenever you click on those. So you'll always be able to know exactly where you are. It'll have current grade, and the calculation is based on points earned out of the total points possible. So on this particular one, most of these are back in 2025. So every last one of them have it as a missed deadline. So everything is a 0 for me right now. Excuse me. And if your instructor does go off of attendance, as well as they give you a grade off of attendance, that will also show up for each day. So just be aware of your grade book, of the items that you have actually interacted with and that you've opened. Make sure to pay attention whenever the instructor does grade the assignments, and then also look at their feedback, right? So for one of these, the assignment, I'm going to go ahead and view it. I know that my feedback is here. So the instructor, oh, it's well organized, thoughtful analysis. You clearly explain opportunity costs and effectively applied, yada, 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 right? Like, so this is the feedback that your instructor took the time after you took the time to actually write the assignment. So make sure you read those and you apply it for whether it is a test or your next assignment. Alrighty. The next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be messaging tools. For the messages, these all get sent within Blackboard, but they also get sent to email. So whenever you do create a message, you can, it'll pop up for everyone in your course. If you have multiple instructors, you can go ahead and just click all instructors for that course that you just want to send this message out to. If there is a question that you have about something and you just want to ask your a classmate, but again, you don't have their information, you can look up their name, but like you can look up their name in your email, but all of the people in your class will be here, right? Like, so you can just send a quick email to one of the people in your class and be like, hey, I need help. Right? And when you click send, it'll then kind of pop up like a text bubble, right? Like, so when they reply, they're going to be able to say like, oh yeah, what can I help you with? It's essentially text messages. The only difference is it's also going to get sent to your email. Okay. All right. And you can also, like, even after submitting, you can add people to the group. Well, okay, well, let me add this person in here as well. Oh, Lord. Okay. And when you send out that message, that person will be added as well as the other people that you have included in that group. So this is a great form of just communication within your class if you need it. Blackboard is accessible on your phone and mobile devices as well. So with the Blackboard app, everything is like scaled down a little bit more, but all of your course content should be accessible on any type of platform. So you should be able to open up a assignment and view the assignment. However, I would not recommend actually trying to submit assignments via your phone. There is no guarantee there that is going to submit the way that you want it to. So I say going through, looking at your announcements, your calendar, seeing what assignments you have to do. All of those are great when you do it on your phone. But when it comes to submissions, I would try to stick to a computer or a laptop. All right. So some common mistakes to avoid when it comes to your navigation of your Blackboard. Oh, wait, where'd it go? Is not checking your Blackboard regularly and missing deadlines due to relying on email alone, right? Like, so when you don't check your Blackboard regularly, if it has announcements, if you know on your activity stream it has your upcoming due dates, those things are all incredibly important. And so if you don't go back and just make sure and confirm, then you're really doing yourself a disservice, right? So, and then also to missing deadlines due to relying on just email, you want to make sure that you are being proactive when it comes to monitoring your assignments. So don't just rely on one form. Double check behind yourself with multiple forms. Go to your announcements, you can check your email, but also go back to your due dates on your calendar, confirm your due dates on your course content. Those are things that you are responsible for whenever you're going into your Blackboard. Submitting the wrong file or not clicking submit. make sure you pay attention to the submission criteria that each instructor has for you, because if it has one submission and you selected the wrong file, then you are entirely responsible for the file that is submitted. So you will need to either contact your instructor and be okay with the fact that if your instructor says, I'm sorry, I only allow one submission, so whatever you submitted is just going to have to be what it is, right? So just make sure you're paying really close attention to not only what it is that they are asking of you, but also make sure you're paying attention and that you're selecting the correct content to transfer over. Ignoring feedback is really big. Instructors can get very frustrated with students when they're like, especially like if you're in an English class, right? And let's say run-on sentences, they mention your run-on sentence and your punctuation in your first assignment. Then they mention it again in your second assignment, and they put it in your feedback, and they say you really need to go to the writing room to work on your run-on sentences, and you continue to do so. Eventually, that leeway of just giving you those points are gonna go away, right? So you wanna make sure that you're paying attention to that feedback. If your instructor writes something along the lines of, I really like what you said, I don't think I'm understanding, reach out to me through email, and you don't reach out to them, and then you submit your next assignment, and they're like, I literally told you to talk to me, you know? So just be mindful of not ignoring that feedback. And then waiting until the last minute. I understand that life happens and that a million and one things can all go wrong in life, and I completely get that. But you are responsible for those assignments, and you are responsible for making sure you get them done in a timely manner as well as on time. So being proactive and looking at different modes of being able to remind yourself of your assignments, that like go into the calendar and confirming, looking through your syllabus, looking through your course schedule, going through your course content, even if it's week by week. Take the initiative of doing that for yourself, because the only person who it's going to hurt is yourself, right? Like if you don't turn in an assignment and all your other classmates did, that puts you at a disservice. I have worked with a faculty member where she does not do makeup quizzes whatsoever, because right after the quiz, the following day, she releases the answers with explanation. You cannot make up a quiz when you already know the answers. So she does not accept excuses on quizzes whatsoever. So just make sure you understand what your instructor wants and what they consider or deem acceptable via their syllabus, and what they won't accept. So we talked about the common mistakes to avoid, but some things for success is make sure you check your activity stream daily, review your feedback on all graded work, and use your calendar every week, and keep copies of your submitted assignment. Every single assignment gives you a timestamp, a date and time, and the assignment with the download button next to it. I'm not saying to keep that for every single class, but especially if it's those really big assignments, you want to make sure that you cover your bases. Nothing hurts you from downloading that submission ticket and just keeping it until the end of the course and just deleting it later. And then always ask questions early. That's just amazing practice from students. If you have questions, don't try to wait until the very last minute to talk to your professor, because the assignment is probably due that night, and now you're asking, hey, I don't actually know what the assignment is about, can you help me? Like, so that is not good practice as a student, and then that really puts the professor in a hard space too. So just be mindful of that and always ask questions early. So is there any questions or anything when it comes to navigating Blackboard that anyone has? I know, like, cause are you a senior? I was about to say, like, yeah, so like, especially when it comes to upperclassmen who have been here the entire time, you know how to use Blackboard, but it's really important for students who are navigating Blackboard for the first time, where they've graduated from high school and they never had a learning management system. They did everything in person, and then you transition to college and you're like, oh, I have to do everything through Blackboard, right? So these are just common things or things that students need to be aware of, how to navigate Blackboard, especially especially if it's your first time or if you're not using Blackboard for everything that it has, to start doing so, right? So does anyone have any questions, any comments, any way that they have found that they use Blackboard that was beneficial to them, considering you're a senior? Is there any advice you would give to some underclassmen who might be navigating Blackboard for the first time?
I would say just check the discussions.
Check the discussions.
Yeah.
And I can even say too, like for one of the discussions, it says, like right here, submit one post or reply, right? Like, so we have where you can submit 2 posts and replies. You can do 1 post or reply, or you can do submission. You reply to 2 after you submitted 1. It's like a whole thing on the back side, right? And so you could, like, for instance, this one says submit 1 post or reply. What if my submission is I'm just going to reply to 1 student and that's it? So technically you've met the criteria of what the instructor wants you to do. And I have known instructors where they're like, you know, I want them to have like a conversation. So I'm going to put 5 where they have to do 5 posts or replies. So you can either do 5 posts or you can do 5 replies, but I'm not going to take off if you don't ever put an initial post on there, right? So it's really important to pay attention to just like those small details. So I completely agree when it comes to Blackboard and discussion posts. Alrighty, anybody have any more questions or anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do all courses use Blackboard or just online courses?
Every course uses Blackboard. Now, where it kind of gets a little bit is how much your instructors use it. If you are in a face-to-face class, sometimes faculty members only give out handouts, right? And they do grading the traditional way. And then they just put your final grades or they put your grades in Blackboard. We always recommend that even if it's an in-person class, to use Blackboard. That is your way of keeping track. And we have things where we see on the back end of how much time, if a student opened the assignment this morning and she submitted any type of assignment in 5 minutes, we're like, that's interesting. You know what I mean? So we always encourage, because even in there that we have Safe Assign that can automatically detect if plagiarism was used. You know, just little things like that where you are really robbing yourself if you don't utilize those different things. So yes, they should all be using it, but in the reality of things, some instructors choose to just do things traditionally and have assignments passed traditionally and then have them get emailed instead of using Blackboard. Yeah.
What would be the very least that would be in there?
The syllabus and the grade book. Yes, ma'am. We say, especially at the very first start, the beginning of class, that you need to have at least the syllabus and a structured schedule on that syllabus, because if you're not going to have anything else in that course, the students need something. They need to know what the course layout is going to be if you're not going to put everything in Blackboard. Anything else? All righty. Well, thank y'all so much for coming. I truly appreciate it. It was more of a live workshop than anything else. I love presentations, but this was fun too. Alrighty, if there's nothing else, I really appreciate you guys. I am going to make sure that you all get your ACE credits as well, and we're also going to put this on the ACE YouTube playlist, so students could, virtual students can still be able to get access and get their credit as well. But if that is all, I greatly appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. And you were all free. 1, 2, 3, release them.